We're starting the Gemara today towards the bottom of Daf Hey Amud Beis, where it says Ella, 7 lines from the bottom of the Amud. So the Gemara here, this is all a one long hemshech, what it said before in the Braisa regarding the mitzvah of Yibum when there's a erva. Speaking about a chaysisha, and the same regarding any arayis, that if there's a issa erva, so then the mitzvah of Yibum does not apply, it's actually a issa to be miyavim then. So it brought a special limud from a pasuk aleha to teach this to me. So the Gemara here is coming to explain, why do I need a special limud to teach me that when there's a isser, erva, alav, sheyesh bekoris, I cannot do yivum? Shouldn't it be obvious that a esse is not deicha alav sheyesh bekoris? Even if a esse is deicha aleis esse, but not alav sheyesh bekoris. So the Gemara is trying to now prove from different places that not only is a esse deicha aleis esse, but there would actually be a svara to say that a esse is deicha aleis esse sheyesh bekoris. And therefore you need a special pasuk to teach me regarding yibum that a esse is not deicha the aleis esse sheyesh bekoris. So the Gemara tried to learn it out from Mile, from Pesach, from Tamid, and the Gemara explained you can't learn it out from any of those places. And now the Gemara is going to try with Kibbud Avei. Let's see. Zok the Gemara towards the bottom of Hey Amud Beis. Elo itztrich. I need a special limud of Aleha to tell me regarding Yibum that the Esa of Yibum is not Deicha the Lois Esa the Sheyesh by Kodes. Regarding Arayis, so I need it for the following reason. Sol Kedaita Chamine, because I would think to learn out from Kibbud Avei. Teisi mit Kibbud Avei. Let's learn out from Kibbud Avei. The Tanya we learned in Abraisa. I would think that Kibbud Avei would be Deicha Shabbos. Talmud Loimar ish imay va'aviv tiro, that a person should have the yira, the fear from a father and mother. V'shabsay setishmeiru, and you keep Shabbos. So why does it say these two in the same pasuk? Kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi. What the pasuk here is saying is everybody, including the parents, are obligated to honor the Eibishter. So therefore, I see from here that when it comes to Kibbud Avei, it's not the mitzvah saseh of Kibbud Avei is not going to be deiche the lav of Shabbos, which is a lav sheyesh bekoris. So the Gemara now explains, what are we learning out from here? My lav, don't you think, what is it speaking about? The Amalei, the father told his son, shchoitli, go shecht for me an animal to feed me, or bashali, or go cook for me something. And these are both isurim of the malachas of Shabbos, which are asur min ha-Torah, and they're the part of the lamates malachas, which there's a chiyuv of kodesh. What does the pasuk here say? That the mitzvah of kibbud avei is not going to be deiche the lav sheyesh bekoris of Shabbos. Now, what we learn out from here, though, is as follows: V'taim the kotzer rachmana es shabsay setishmeiru. Only over here, Kibbud Avei is an exception, and the Torah is saying that because the father is also obligated to honor the Eibishter, so therefore, over here, the mitzvah saseh of Kibbud Avei is not going to be Deicha Shabbos, which is Yesh Bekoris. Halavachi, but in any other case, any other mitzvah saseh, Dachi. From here I could see that in any other case, a mitzvah saseh is Deicha Alav Sheyesh Bekoris. So this would be a source to tell me this concept that a mitzvah saseh is deicha alav sheyesh bekoris. Only when you get to mitzvah saseh of kibbud avei, it's an exception, as the Braisa gives the reason, because kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi. But if not for that reason, in any other place, a mitzvah saseh would be deicha alav sheyesh bekoris. So the Gemara, we can't learn out from here. Why not? Because there is also a chilul Shabbos, which could be not kodesh. Lav de mechamer. Maybe this drasha in the pasuk is speaking about the lav of mechamer. What's mechamer? When a person is leading an animal on Shabbos, so it's also a chilul Shabbos, as Rashi here brings. It says in the pasuk, leisase komolocha ato behemtecha. So therefore, it's also a chilul Shabbos, but there's no kares. Rashi brings from the Gemara in Shabbos that kares is only when you are mechal Shabbos, something that you do with your own body, a malacha from the lamates malachas, but not a malacha that you do with the animal. So this is a case of chilul Shabbos, which there's no kares. So maybe over here in this pasuk, when it's saying that the mitzvah of kibbud avei is not deicha Shabbos, it was referring to a father that's telling his son to be mechamer, to do this lav which has no kares, and that on that it's saying that it's not going to be deichit. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, if that's the pshat, that pasuk is talking specifically about this lav of mechamer, so now vafila hachi leidachi. So are you telling me that even though we're talking about the lav of mechamer, which has no kares, and still the mitzvah of kibbud of aim is not going to be deicha this lav? So if so, this that we know that we brought before from tzitzis and shatnez, the osi ese v'dachi loisese, that it ese kepushova loisese. That was the rule that we learned out from there. Ligmar mihacha. Now, why wouldn't we say let's learn out from here? Delaylitchi. That maybe from this case of the mitzvah of kibbud of aim not being deiche the lav of mechamer, which is a plain lav, not a lav sheyesh beikaris. And if you hear you say that the mitzvah saseh is not deiche this lav, why wouldn't we use this as a source to learn out for kol ha-Torah that a esse is not deiche a lois esse? So it's interesting. Before the Gemara was saying that when you see over here that the mitzvah of kibbud of aim is deicha alav sheyesh beikaris, the Gemara said, that must be because the mitzvah saseh of kibbud of aim is weaker than a regular mitzvah saseh, because the father is also chayiv and the eibush is covered. And therefore the Gemara said this should be a source to say that everywhere else a mitzvah saseh could be deicha alav sheyesh beikaris, not like kibbud of aim. Now the Gemara is reversing it. Now the Gemara is saying, if you're going to say we're talking about a chilul Shabbos, which ain't beikaris, just a plain lav de mechamer, over here the Gemara is asking, let this become a source for kol ha-Torah kula to compare to here, that you should always say that a lav that ain't beikaris, the mitzvah saseh is deiche. So Taisus explains, why does the Gemara reverse this all of a sudden? Why shouldn't we say over here the same thing, that if I see over here by kibbud of aim that mitzvah saseh is deicha de lois esse, so that should teach me in kol ha-Torah kula that a esse is not deicha lois esse. Again, that a esse is deicha lois esse. Over here the esse is not deicha de lois esse. Maybe I should learn out the kol ha-Torah kula that a esse is not deicha de lois esse. So Taisus explains, when the Gemara lachatchila said that the mitzvah saseh of kibbud of aim is not deicha alav sheyesh beikaris, you really don't need a pasuk to teach that to me. That's considered to be an extra limud. Why would I think that a mitzvah is deicha alav sheyesh beikaris? Alav sheyesh beikaris is a very chomerdige thing. Karis. There would be no svara ba'olam to say that a mitzvah saseh is deicha alav sheyesh beikaris. The fact that you need a special pasuk to come to tell me that the mitzvah saseh of kibbud of aim is not deicha alav sheyesh beikaris, it must mean that the only thing that the Torah was really coming to teach you is that everywhere else a mitzvah saseh is deicha alav sheyesh beikaris. But otherwise, stam to say that it's coming to tell me the point that it's not deicha alav sheyesh beikaris, why would I think otherwise? Mashenkin over here, when I'm talking about esse, deicha lois esse, not alav sheyesh beikaris, but esse deicha lois esse, so this is something we already discussed before. We already brought a makir before from the pasuk by shatnez and tzitzis to teach me that a esse is deicha lois esse. So now the Gemara is basically asking, wait a minute, before we had a makir to say that a esse is deicha lois esse from shatnez and tzitzis. Now over here it seems like we have another pasuk that's coming and telling me that a esse is not deicha lois esse. That's if you're going to compare to this case, so the kibbud of aim and the lav of the mechamer. So from where should we compare to all other cases in kol ha-Torah kula? Should we learn it out from tzitzis and shatnez? Or should we learn it out maybe from here, from kibbud of aim and the chilul Shabbos, the lav of the mechamer? Which one should we learn it out from? So the Gemara is saying, since we have these two limudim and it's not clear where to learn it out from, and this svar is to learn it out from here, this svar is to learn it out from there, so maybe we should be machmer. And we should learn out from here, just like in any case in the Torah. We should be machmer and say that we learn out from here that esse is not deicha lois esse, like you see over here. That's how Taisus explains this Gemara. So the Gemara continues and says, wait a minute, you're going to learn from here to kol ha-Torah kula that esse is not deicha regular lois esse. V'chi teime shani lavi de Shabbos de chamiri. Can learn out from here. You know why this esse is not deicha the lav of mechamer, even though it's not a lav sheyesh beikaris, but it's a lav of chilul Shabbos. And b'chlal, chilul Shabbos is more stringent than any other lav in the Torah. Rashi brings what it says in the Gemara in Eruvin, the person that's mechal Shabbos is like he's serving avodah zarah. So maybe dafke a lav of Shabbos, it's not going to be deicha, but maybe a regular lav, and esse will be deicha lois esse, like we learned that before already from shatnez and tzitzis. So the Gemara says, no, but you can't say that it's only regarding Shabbos, because we see v'ho tane ba'al mekoi. We see it as a tana and a braise that applies the same concept regarding kibbud of aim, not being deiche, a lois esse, and he applies it not only to Shabbos, but even in other cases as well. And v'loi kaparich, And we don't ask this pirche that maybe this is only said regarding Shabbos because Shabbos is very chomer. No, we apply this to any lav that kibbud of aim is not going to be doiche any lav. Where do we see this? The Tanya we learned in Abraise, Yo cholam alayaviv hitame. So I would think if a father tells his son, go be metame yourself. So his son is a kohen. He's not allowed to be metame himself in a beis hakvaris. And the father tells his son, I lost something in the beis hakvaris. Go get me the lost object in the beis hakvaris. So he's telling his son to be over alav. Or the father says, I need you to do something for me, and even though there's an aveda that you have to pick up and return, don't do the mitzvah of a shavas aveda. Another lav, the lav of leisucha le'esalim. Yachol yishmaloi. I would think that the son should listen to the father. Tamad leimar ish imay v'aviv tiro v'shabseisei tishmayro. The pasuk says the mitzvah of meira of aim together with the mitzvah of Shabbos. And what this teaches me is kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi. Everyone, including the parents, are obligated to honor the Eibishter. And therefore, if a father tells a child to be oived on a mitzvah leisasa, you don't listen to a father. So what do you see over here? This Braisa is using this drasha not only regarding Shabbos. It's using it b'negei to a leisesa of a kohen not to be metame, or the lav of leisucha le'esalim, and it's saying that over here, esa is not teicha de leisesa. So if you're going to say that this pasuk is talking about not the lav of kodesh, it's talking about the regular lav of mechamer, so that I should learn out from here to kala teira kula that a esa is not teicha leisesa. Elamai, so what's the Gemara trying to conclude here? What the Gemara is trying to say is, you can't say that this drasha, that the kibbud of aim is not doiche the lav, is talking about a regular lav. It's talking about the lav of kodesh dafka, like we started off saying. And from here we're going to learn out that over here we see the pasuk is coming to tell you, dafka over here, b'negei to kibbud of aim, this is a kind of a mitzvah that it's not doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. Why not? Because it's a weaker mitzvah saseh. In what sense is it weaker? Because even the parents are chayiv to honor the Eibishter. But I learn out l'kol ha'torah kula that an ese is doicha alois ese sheyesh bei kodesh. Only by kibbud aim, the esa is not doicha alois ese sheyesh bei kodesh. But over here, but everywhere else that is, the esa will be doicha alois ese sheyesh bei kodesh. Let me just one second. Let me just explain one point over here. Maybe the question that you want to ask. So if the pasuk, if we're going back, if the Gemara's kavanah is to go back to what we said before, that the pasuk is coming to teach me that by kibbud aim, the mitzvah of kibbud aim is not doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh, but everywhere else it is doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. So then, how are we learning out from here that by kibbud aim it's not going to be doicha even a plain lav, even a regular lav like the lav of a kohen not being metama, or the lav of leisucha le'esalim? If we're going back to the pshat we said before, that it's coming to tell me that the kibbud aim is not going to be doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. So maybe kibbud aim will be doicha a regular lav. So what's the pshat in this braisa here? How could the Gemara now say that we're going back to the drasha that we said before, that it's going on a lav sheyesh bei kodesh? So again, Taisus explains that the way the Gemara understands this is that the svara that we say, kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi, that the father is also chayiv and the Eibishter's covered, and therefore you can't push off a lav sheyesh bei kodesh, mitzad that svara, that the father is chayiv and the Eibishter's covered, you can't push off any lav. A lav sheyesh bei kodesh, a lav she'ein bei kodesh, it makes no difference. And therefore the Braisa here is saying that will include also the lav of a kohen not to be metame, or the lav of leisucha le'esalim. Right, so because you see that this is a different kind of a mitzvah saseh. It's a mitzvah saseh that the father is chayiv and the Eibush is covered. So that's why this Braisa is not a stira to this. But at the same time though, the very fact that this Braisa is coming and telling me that by kibbud of aim, this mitzvah saseh will not be doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. What's the main reason why the Torah said this? What's the chiddush in this? Why would we think otherwise? Why would we think that a mitzvah saseh should be doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh, which is so chomer? The main reason the Torah is telling this to us is to teach me that by a regular mitzvah saseh, it is doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. Kibbud aim is an exception because of the svara of kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi, and therefore it's not doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. But by a regular mitzvah saseh, it's going to be doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. So the conclusion of the Gemara right now is, the Gemara is saying, we have a source to teach me that a regular mitzvah saseh is doicha lav sheyesh bei kodesh. Kibbud aim is an exception.
What about Kuchen Chayavim K'vaydi? Even by a regular mitzvah, you should say. Forget about the kibbutz of an but regular mitzvah.
Interesting. I hear what you're saying, but apparently you don't say that svara by regular mitzvah. And the reason l'chayda is by the mitzvah of kibbutz of aim, where the whole content of the very mitzvah itself is honoring the parents. So therefore we say, if the whole point of the mitzvah is to honor the parents, that mitzvah of honoring the parents cannot be a stira to honoring the Eibishter. But if the content of the mitzvah itself is not about honoring someone, so then that svara of kulchem chayav mechvaydi doesn't apply. It's a mitzvah saseh to eat matzah, it's a mitzvah saseh to shake lulav. So maybe that kind of a mitzvah saseh is doicha lav sheyesh beikaris. That's what the pasuk is teaching me. This mitzvah, dafka this mitzvah, which is about honoring the parents, I say the svara of kulchem chayav mechvaydi. So the Gemara now brings up another pirche. Sagt the Gemara, Elo mishum de ikla mifrach. The reason why you can't learn out from here to the rest of Torah to say that esse is, actually maybe you could learn out to the rest of Torah, but the main point that the Gemara is going to say, according to Rashi's pshat, is that this goes back to the mitzvah of yibum in a case where there is a lav sheyesh beikaris, which is an erva. Right? That's what we're really trying to learn out from here. Just like we see over here, I learned from here that a esse could be doiche a loisas sheyesh beikaris, and therefore I want to apply this back to the yibum as well. Then maybe when you have the mitzvah of yibum, it would be doiche a lav sheyesh beikaris, and even if there's an erva, there would be a mitzvah of yibum. So on that the Gemara says, to compare it to the case of yibum, there's a pirche. You could refute this as follows and say, Ma lahanoch, when it comes to kibbud of aim, and all these different scenarios that we said here, that when you want to push off a mitzvah, you want to push off a lav, that is, in order to fulfill kibbud of aim, shekin hechsher mitzvah. Over here, this is essential. Pushing off this lav is essential in order to be able to fulfill the mitzvah. That's the title of the word hechsher mitzvah over here, according to Rashi. That when Rashi says, what the Gemara is saying is, there's a big difference between kibbud of aim and yibum. When it comes to kibbud of aim, if a father is asking someone to do something for him, so then the only way to fulfill the mitzvah of kibbud of aim is to bring him the food, to shecht for him, to cook for him, or to bring the aveda that he wants and the beis hakvaros. There's no other option. There's no other way out. Mashenki, when it comes to the mitzvah of yibum, the mitzvah of yibum is a kind of a mitzvah that if you don't want to do yibum, you have an option of chalitza. So therefore, it's not a mitzvah that you must do. There is another option out. So what the Gemara is saying is, even if you're going to tell me that from this mitzvah of kibbud of aim, there's a source to tell me that a mitzvah saseh is doicha a lav sheyesh beikaris, but you can't apply that to this type of mitzvah saseh of yibum. The mitzvah saseh of yibum is a weaker mitzvah saseh. Why? Because it's not a mitzvah saseh which is essential for a person to fulfill. It's possible for a person to wiggle his way out, to do the Indian of chalitza. So therefore, why would I think that this kind of mitzvah saseh of yibum should be doiche a lav sheyesh beikaris? So we're still stuck with our question, why do I need a special drasha to teach me that it's doiche a lav sheyesh beikaris? That it's not doiche a lav sheyesh beikaris. Okay, that's Rashi's pshat in the Gemara. With this lashon, the Gemara here says, hechsher mitzvah. It's not the usual pshat of hechsher mitzvah. I touched it. The hechsher mitzvah means, this is how Rashi says, it means it's essential. You must do the mitzvah this way. There's no other way. Usually, what does hechsher mitzvah mean? Usually, hechsher mitzvah means it's only a preparation for the mitzvah. So Taisus over here says that the Gemara, when it says hechsher mitzvah, it taka means, the last Taisus in the Yama, towards the bottom, Taisus says hechsher mitzvah over here, taka means what it usually means, that it's only a hechsher for the mitzvah. And what the Gemara is saying is that even if you're going to say that this pasuk is talking about the mitzvah of kibbud of aim, and it's telling you that the mitzvah of kibbud of aim is not doiche Shabbos, and which mitzvah of Shabbos, or which lav of Shabbos, even the lav of mechamer, like we said before, not necessarily a lav sheyesh beikaris. And the Gemara asked, let's learn out from here to kol ha-Torah kula that a esse is not doiche lois esse. For that, the Gemara answers, no, this case is different. Why? Because over here, when a father asks a child to shchoitli, bashali, or the lav of the mechamer, whatever it might be, he's not fulfilling the kibbud of aim b'shas he's machal Shabbos. What does he do? He's mechamer, or whatever it is that he does, that's only the preparation for kibbud aveim. What's the actual kibbud aveim? When he brings the food to the father. So it comes out that the kibbud aveim is not being fulfilled in the same time when he's mechal Shabbos. That's why over here, the essa is not going to be doicha delois essa. But like by shatnas and tzitzis that we had before, we learned out that the essa is doicha delois essa, at the very same moment when you put on the garment, which is shatnas, you're fulfilling the mitzvah of tzitzis. So over there, the essa is doicha delois essa, because it's in the exact same moment. It's not by a hechsha mitzvah. So that's b'chlal the rule regarding the concept of essa doicha lois essa. And essa only pushes off a lois essa if it's in the same moment where you're over the lois essa, you're fulfilling an essa. But if you're being over the lois essa first, and only later you're going to come to fulfill the essa, it's not going to be doicha. That's what the Gemara is saying here when it says the lashon of hechsha mitzvah according to Tosfos.
You can make a beggar shatnez, just can't wear it.
That's true, correct. The issa is to wear it, so it's in the same moment. So the Gemara, so the Gemara now tries to bring from a different source to tell you that a essa would be doiche even a lois essa sheyesh be'kares. I would think to say maybe teisi mi bein beis hamikdash. Let's learn out from the mitzvah of building the beis hamikdash. The Tanya we learned in Abraisa, Yachal, I would think being beis hamikdash doiche Shabbos, that you should be able to build a beis hamikdash even on Shabbos. Talmud Loima, so the pasuk says, as Shabsai said to Shmeiru mikdash yitirou, that you should keep Shabbos and you should should keep the beis hamikdash, should be fearful from the beis hamikdash. The Gemara will soon explain what that means. But the fact that it puts the two together, what does it teach me? Kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi. Everyone is chayiv to give the Eibishter honor. And therefore, you're not allowed to build a Beis HaMikdash on Shabbos. So again, the Gemara is going to go through the exact same discussion that I had before regarding kibbud aveim. So now, my love, don't you think, what is it saying here? It's talking about actually building or demolishing, which is one of the Lamites Malachas, where there's a chiyuv of Kares. And the time, the cost of Rachmana Shabshay said to Shmeiru. And over here, there's a special pasuk that's coming and telling me regarding Shabbos that you're not allowed to do any of the malachas that are kares, because it says Shabshay said to Shmeiru that it doesn't push off this lois essa. Holavachi dachi, but otherwise it would be doicha holav sheyesh bekares. So I could learn from here that generally speaking, a essa could be doicha lois essa sheyesh bekares. When you get to the Beis HaMikdash, it's an exception. Over there I say, Kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi, that it's not doiche. So the Gemara says, no, maybe that pasuk is not speaking about a lav sheyesh b'kares. Lav de mechamer. Lav de mechamer. Maybe there it's speaking about the lav of mechamer where there's no kares. So the Gemara, so if so, va'afila hachi loidachi, is that pasuk telling me that the mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash is not going to be doiche the lav of mechamer, which is there's no kares to it? So if so, ve'elo the kaim alon das yesa v'dachi lois essa, this that we learned already before from shatnas and tzitzis, that a essa is deicha lois essa. Why are you learning from there? Ligma me'acha, learn out from here the loidachi, that maybe I should say that this comes to tell me that just like by the Beis HaMikdash it's not deicha alav, so too every mitzvah say is not deicha alav. If you'll argue and say, I can't learn from here to kol ha'Torah kula that a essa is not doicha lois essa, because shani lav de Shabbos, the chamiri. The lav of Shabbos is different, it's more chamor, and that's the reason why Beis HaMikdash is specifically not doicha Shabbos. But otherwise, when you get to a regular lav, that I learn out from shatnas and tzitzis, that it is going to be doicha. Says the Gemara, but v'hatane ba'al mekoi. I see in a braise, there's a tane that speaks about a regular lav dafke the lav of Shabbos, which is chomer. And v'loika parich, and he does not ask this question. The Gemara brings the same braisa we brought before regarding kibbud aveim and another lav. The Tanya, as we learned in the braisa, yachal amelayav v'itame Hashem elayal tachser. The father tells him, go a kohen, become tamei, or don't give back an aveda, which is a lav. Yachal yisham elayah, I would think you listen to your father. Tamad loy meishi mevavev tiro v'gaimer kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi, that everyone is chayav to honor the Eibishter. So you see over there that we use this b'negeh to any lav, not only b'negeh to Shabbos. So the same thing over here. You can't say that this drasha that we're saying regarding the Beis HaMikdash not being doiche Shabbos, that it's only b'negeh to Shabbos and not b'negeh to a regular lav. It must be b'negeh to any lav. So if so, I would learn out to kol ha'Torah kula to say that a essa is not doiche lois essa. So therefore, what is the Gemara really saying? We have to go back to what we said before. We're not talking about a regular lois essa. We're talking specifically about a lois essa of Shabbos, sheyesh bekares. And we're learning that only by the Beis HaMikdash it's an exception that it's not going to be doicha alav sheyesh bekares, because kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi. But otherwise, by a regular mitzvah saseh, it will be doicha alav sheyesh bekares. And this would be the reason why I need a special pasuk b'negei to a Yevamos to teach me that the mitzvah of Yibum is not deicha delav sheyesh beikaris. So again, the Gemara concludes the same as it said before. Ela mishum deikal mifrach. If you want to compare what I'm learning from here to the mitzvah sasei of Yibum, so then there's a pircha. It's not the same thing. And I'll say again, the pshat of Rashi, Tosfos learns differently, as I said before, but the pshat of Rashi is ma'alahanoch shekein hechsher mitzvah. When it comes over here, b'nigeya to the mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash, this is the only way to build it. There's no other way to do it. You have to build a Beis HaMikdash, so that's a chilul Shabbos. So it's essential to the action you're doing, is essential for the mitzvah. So maybe this, from here, I could learn that if it's action that you're doing that's essential to the mitzvah, so then that will be deicha alav sheyesh b'karis. But you can't say that b'negei to Yibum. By Yibum, you have an option to do chalitza. Okay, so the Gemara asks, wait a minute. How could you say the same pircha like you said before? Hechshem mitzvah, typically mehasam. You're telling me that I learn from here that anytime you have a mitzvah saseh where there's no option to do it otherwise or to pati yourself from this mitzvah. So I learn from here that such a kind of mitzvah saseh is going to be deicha alav sheyesh beikaris. How could you tell me you learned that over here from this pasuk, which is a mitzvah of being Beis HaMikdash? We learned that out already from before, from the mitzvah of kibud aveim. Elamai, don't we have to say that from here I learn that any mitzvah, even a mitzvah where the action of the mitzvah is not essential, you could pati yourself otherwise, still it's going to be deicha alav sheyesh beikaris. There's no reason to repeat the same limud twice. So the Gemara says, enochanami, you're right, you don't have to repeat the same limud twice, and therefore the Gemara brings that this pasuk of es shabseisei tishmeire mikdashi tiro is going to teach me something else. Es shabseisei tishmeire mikdashi tiro lamali. What is it coming to teach me? It's not coming to teach me that a essa is deicha alav sheyesh beikaris. Rather, it's coming to teach me something completely different. We need it like a Tanya, like what we learned in the Braise. The Braise says, Yochel, Yisyare Yadam in Mikdash. I would think that the mitzvah of Yireh, that it says here, Mikdash Yitiro, is that you have to be afraid of the Beis HaMikdash itself. Like the Beis HaMikdash has a godly kayach in it, and you have to be afraid of the Beis HaMikdash itself. Talmud Loimar, so the pasuk comes and says, Es shabsoisai tishmeiru ves mikdashi tiro. So what's this comparison? Nemra shmira b'Shabbos. The Torah says to keep Shabbos. Nemra meira b'mikdash, and it says to be afraid from the Beis HaMikdash. Ma shmira mora b'Shabbos. Just like it says that when you keep Shabbos, what does this mean? Loim Shabbos at the misyare. You're not afraid of Shabbos itself. It doesn't say in the Torah to be afraid of Shabbos. It just says to keep Shabbos. And what does this mean? Why are you keeping Shabbos? Elamimi shehizder ala Shabbos. Over there it means you keep Shabbos because of the Eibishter that commanded to keep Shabbos. Af Meira Amura b'Mikdash. So too regarding the Meira, to be afraid that it says by the Beis HaMikdash, Loimi Mikdash Ata Misyare. It's not the fear of the Beis HaMikdash itself. Ela mimisha hizer ala mikdash. It refers to the Eibishter that the Beis HaMikdash is a place where the Shechina is there, so you have to be afraid from the Eibishter, which is in the Beis HaMikdash. Now, so veizi meira mikdash. What's considered to be meira mikdash? Leikanas adam barabayis b'makloi. Don't enter into the Beis HaMikdash with a stick, b'minolei, with your shoes, b'pundasei, with your money belt, b'avak shal gabi raglov, with dust on your feet, v'lo yasena kapandaria, and don't make the area in the Beis HaMikdash a shortcut to walk through it. Or a kike, and definitely not to spit there, if you can't do the things mentioned above, for sure you're not allowed to spit there. So that's what we're learning out from the fact that the Torah puts Mikdashi Tiro together with Shabshaisa Tishmeira. The Braisa continues, I would think this is only when the Beis HaMikdash is standing. How do I know that this is also even when the Beis HaMikdash is not standing? I also learn it out from this that the Torah puts Shabbos and Meira Mikdash together. Just like the Shmira of Shabbos is always forever. So too the Meira of that place of the Beis HaMikdash is always. The Kedusha in that place of the Beis HaMikdash remains there forever. Like we paskin that the Kedusha is Lo'ilam, so therefore you have to be the halachas of Meira Mikdash remains in that place forever. So B'kitzur, the conclusion of the Gemara is that this comparison of Meira Mikdash and Shmiras Shabbos is not coming to teach me that a Esse is Doicha Leisa Seshesh Beikaris. It's coming to compare it for a whole different reason, as we said here, to teach me how do you fulfill this mitzvah of Meira Mikdash. So we're back to our question, why would I think that a esse should be deiche alois esse sheyesh beikaris? Why do I need a special pasuk by a yibum to say that if there's a alois esse sheyesh beikaris, that the mitzvah say will not be deichet? Ella, so the Gemara now tries another source. So because I would think as follows. Learn it out from the lav of hav'ara on Shabbos, one of the lamates malachas, not to light a fire on Shabbos. Tana de Rabbi Shmuel, we learned that Tana learned by Rabbi Shmuel as follows. The pasuk says, "Leisavaru eish b'chol mishvisechem." Do not make a fire on Shabbos. Ma tamad loima. So the Tana that's asked about this pasuk, what is this pasuk coming to teach me? It's an extra pasuk. It already says in the title, "Leisasa malacha," which includes all the lamates malachas. Why does it have to say specifically not to make a fire on Shabbos? Now the Gemara interrupts this question and asks, "What matamad loimar?" You're asking a question why the Torah spelled out this specific lav. We learned already once about this that there's two different interpretations. What it's coming to tell me? Rabbi Yaisi. According to Rabbi Yaisi, so he holds this is a Gemara in Shabbos. So Rabbi Yaisi says lelav. The pasuk is coming to tell me that the malacha of hav'ara is different than all other lamates malachas. All other lamates malachas, there's kares, there's skila, but when it comes to hav'ara, you only over on a lav, not more than a lav. Ilir Rab Nosson, and according to Rab Nosson, why does the Torah spell out the lav of hav'ara? Lachalik. It's coming to tell me lachalik. What does lachalik mean? You would think, Rashi here says, you would think to say that maybe you're not chayav achatos on Chilul Shabbos unless you do all lamates malachas. How do you know that you're chayav separately for each one of lamates malachas? So therefore the pasuk spells out one of them to tell you that you're chayav chatos even for one of them. So what was the Braisa's question when it asked, what is this pasuk teaching me? We have these two opinions, and the Gemara brings the Braisa, the Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, Havara lelav yatzasa, divrei Rabbi Yaisi. It's coming to tell me that it's only a lav. Rab Nosson oimer lachalik. This pasuk is coming lachalik to tell me that you're chayav for each one of the lamates malachis separately a carbon chatos. Okay, so now the Gemara is trying to figure out what was the Tana de Rabbi Shmuel saying. So the Gemara now explains. V'amar Rava explained. Tana Moishava is kakashile. The question that the Tana, the Beit Rabbi Shmuel, was asking was not why it says Leisavaru Eish. That we have the answer, either Rabbi Yaisi or Rab Nosson. His question though was, why does it use the term Moishva Seichem in your dwellings, which would refer to Eretz Yisrael? Why dafka Eretz Yisrael? Meishava is matamid loima. Why does it use this term? Meishava is mechdi. Let's see. Shabbos chayves hagufi. Shabbos is a mitzvah that lies upon the person, on the body of the person. And it's not something which lies upon the land. The rule is, any mitzvah which is connected to the land, that's only in Eretz Yisrael. A mitzvah which is upon the person is not only in Eretz Yisrael, it's anywhere in the world. It's a mitzvah whether in Eretz Yisrael, whether outside in Eretz Yisrael. So Meishavais, the Kasar Rachmana b'Shabbos Lamali, what is this extra word of Meishavais? Meishveisechem, doing here, as if indicating that it's only in Eretz Yisrael, but it's not only in Eretz Yisrael. That was the question of the Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel. So now what did he answer? Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amat Talmud Echad. So in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, the Talmud said, Lefi shenemar, what it's coming to teach me is as follows. Because there's a pasuk that says, V'chiyeh be'ish chet mishpat maves v'humas. If a person sinned and he's being judged to misa, death, so now you have to give him the chiyuv of misa. And what is the chiyuv misa that the Brais over here is going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the chiyuv of misa of sreifa. Let's see. Which is hav'ara, right? Making a fire. Shemeya ni, so I would think to say, bein b'chayil, bein b'Shabbos. When a person, you have to give him the chiyuv of misa, so you have to give him that punishment, whether during the week and even on Shabbos. Omani mekaye mechaleleh mois yumas. The pasuk says, if you make a fire in Mechal Shabbos, so you chayiv misa. How could you give this person a chayiv misa? And in order to give him the chayiv misa, you have to be Mechal Shabbos. B'shar malachas. Maybe that's speaking about other malachas. Chutz mimisas bezdin. But not in the case where you have to give a person a Mises Bezdin. And again, like I said before, we're talking about the Mises Bezdin of Sreife. You'll be allowed to make a fire to fulfill the punishment of Sreife even on Shabbos. Now the Braisa now says, Oy einoi ela fila Mises Bezdin. Or maybe even Mises Bezdin, you would not be allowed to do this on Shabbos, to be Mechal Shabbos for this sake. Umani mekayim v'humas, and what does it mean when the pasuk says v'humas, that you give him the punishment of sreife? B'chayil, maybe that's only in the weekday. V'loi b'Shabbos, maybe not on Shabbos. But again, the Braisa goes back and says, or maybe I would say that you give the punishment of Sreife even on Shabbos. Why this Braisa keeps on going back and forth, the Gemara will explain later. Talmud Loimar, so the pasuk here says, so that you do not make a fire in any of your dwellings. So again, what we're focusing on is the extra word of Moshvei Seichem. So now, regarding when it comes to punishing a person, the pasuk says, "V'hoyo eile lachem luchukas mishpat l'dereseichem b'chol moshvei seichem." So he uses the term again of b'chol moshvei seichem. Ma moishavis ha'amurim lahalon bebezdin. Just like the moishavis that it says later is speaking about a bezdin. Af moishavis ha'amurim kan, when it says over here the term moshvei seichem regarding not making a fire on Shabbos bebezdin, it's talking about bezdin. And v'amar achmana, what's the Torah saying? Lo yisavaru, that you're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. Even a bezdin that has to give a person a chi of sreife, you're not allowed to make the sreife, the fire, on Shabbos. Okay, this is the conclusion of the Braisa of Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel. Just to clarify one point, how exactly is the misa of sreife done? They would take lead, they would heat it up and melt the lead, and they would pour it down his throat, and that's how the person died. That's the chiyuv of sreife. So we're learning out from this pasuk. There would have been a svara to say that you have a mitzvah now. There's a mitzvah to be mekayim the sreife, but you have the lav of Shabbos. So the mitzvah saseh of giving the person misa is not going to be deiche the lav of Shabbos. Okay, so now the Gemara says, now getting back to the point, what are we trying to learn out from here? That a esa could be deiche a lois esa sheyesh beikaris. Sagt the Gemara, my lav Rab Nosani. Don't you think that this Braisa of Rabbi Shmuel is following the opinion of Rab Nosson? The Omar lachalik yotzesa. Rab Nosson's opinion is that the lav of Shabbos, of making a fire, is a regular lav sheyesh beikaris. And the only reason the Torah spells out this lav separately is lachalik, to say that you get a separate carbon chatas for each lav. But it's still a regular lav sheyesh beikaris. And what are we learning over here? That the mitzvah that you have of sreife, of misas bezdin, is not going to be deiche the loisese of havara, of making a fire of Shabbos. That's a loisese sheyesh beikaris. So again, the point that comes out from this braisa is that a mitzvah saseh is not deiche a loisese sheyesh beikaris. Now, v'taime the chas of rachmana loisevaru. So that's only over here where the Torah says loisevaru. So this is coming to tell me, and the extra word moshvei seichem essentially. That extra word is coming to tell me that over here the mitzvah of being mekayim, the sreife, the misas bezdin, will not be deiche the lav of making a fire, which is a lav sheyesh beikaris. Halav hachi. But if not for this case, in any other case, dachi, it will be deiche a lav sheyesh beikaris. So this is the source to tell me that usually a mitzvah saseh could be deiche a leisas sheyesh beikaris. And here, this case is an exception where the Torah is telling me that the mitzvah saseh of einish misas bezdin will not be deiche the lav sheyesh beikaris. That's the Gemara's limud. Okay, so the Gemara right away answers very simple. Loi, you have no raya from here. Rabbi Yosi. Why can't we say that this Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel is not Rab Nosson, it's Rabbi Yosi? No, and what's if it's Rabbi Yosi? What's Rabbi Yosi's opinion? This lav that we're talking about, which is havara, is not a leisas sheyesh beikaris. According to Rabbi Yosi, it's a regular lav. Lalav yatzaseh, it's just a plain lav. So you can't learn out from here regarding a lav sheyesh beikaris. But the Gemara says, wait a minute, how is the misas bezdin done? It's not only the lav of havara. V'tehevi nami Rabbi Yosi, even if this braisa says Rabbi Yosi, emedam Rabbi Yosi, havara lalav yatzaseh. According to Rabbi Yosi, havara has no karis. Havara, the Torah came to teach me that it's only a lav. Havara geredisa, that's only havara alone. Havara the bezdin, but when bezdin has to give a person a misa of sreife, how is that done? Bishul psilahu. What they do is they take this psila, it's like this piece of lead that they melt it, and then they have to pour it down his throat. So over here you have to make a fire, and then you have to cook the lead. So you're actually doing two malachas, havara and bishul. Okay, so if so, the bishul is certainly a lav sheyesh beikaris, even if havara is not. Vam Rav Sheshes said, Mali bishul psila, Mali bishul samonin. There's no difference between the bishul of psila, of cooking lead, or cooking samonin. That's what the bishul was in the Mishkan. the source of the Lamed Tes Malachis in the Mishkan, they used the herbs that they needed to make the dye, to dye the yiriyos and so on. So therefore, if there's also bishul over here, so that's a lav sheyesh beikaris. So I could learn out from here that over here I say that the mitzvahs I say of giving this person the einish of sreife is not teicha the lav sheyesh beikaris. But usually a mitzvah I say is teicha lav sheyesh beikaris. So that's the Gemara's conclusion at this point, that we should be able to learn out from here. Okay, but the Gemara is going to continue and refute this as well, as we'll see.